faithfully delivering value by interpreting great books from around the world. Hello, this is Sally's Book Talk. Today, we're interpreting the book, The Red Market, for you. Do you have any idea about the human body trade? Feel free to leave comments and discuss with us in the comment section. SASA. How much do you think your body is worth? For many people, this question itself is quite offensive. One's body is a gift from one's parents. People tend to believe the human body is sacred, not like car parts that can be dismantled and sold at will. Most countries make it illegal to buy human tissues, but in reality, everything from hair and blood to organs, bones, women's wombs, and even children is traded. The human body trade market is thriving. Just the human organ trade alone is worth billions of dollars every year. These trades often happen under the guise of altruism. Organs are donated, children are adopted, and clinical trial participants volunteer for biopharma. However, we can't ignore that behind these so-called donations, there's huge profit potential, and it can lead to crime and exploitation. In the global human body trade, it's always higher status people getting body parts from lower classes, not the other way around. This book dives deep into the human body trade market, uncovering its bloody truth. The author, Scott Carney, is an American investigative journalist and anthropologist, often published in international media like BBC, NPR, and Discovery Magazine. Carney graduated from the Anthropology Institute at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. After graduation, he went to India to guide American students in researching local folklore and language. In 2006, one of Carney's students died unexpectedly in India, and Carney brought his body back to the U.S. for burial. This experience made Carney reflect more on the human body. After that, Carney quit teaching.
Based in India, he reported on the human body trade in South Asia for magazines like Wired, and traveled across Europe and America to investigate the industry behind it.
This book is the result of Carney's 5-year investigation into the human body market. The book has 10 chapters, each delving into the global trade of specific body tissues like kidneys, eggs, and blood. Carney believes that without blood donation, organ transplantation technology, and child adoption programs, we'd undoubtedly face even more terrible consequences. But this book doesn't focus on how recipients benefit from the human body trade. It's all about the suppliers in the supply chain. They're often destitute and have no other way out except selling their own bodies.
Author Carney hopes this book will let readers see the human body trade from a whole new angle.
If we need our own bodies to survive, why sell parts of it to others?
What are the bloody truths in the human body trade industry?
Why does emphasizing altruism end up exploiting some people? Next, I'll break it down into 2 parts to interpret the main content of this book for you. First, the evil human body trade. Second, what problems exist in the donation system based on altruism? All right, for the first part, let's head to India's kidney village to see how the human body trade actually works. This kidney village is located in Tamil Nadu, southeast India, and is a tsunami refugee resettlement area. In December 2004, the Indian Ocean suffered the deadliest tsunami in history. Parts of India were severely hit, and the government moved 2,500 victims from coastal fishing grounds to here. This place has nothing, and the residents are all dirt poor. Selling kidneys became the only way for many to stay alive. On average, 2 women in the village sell one of their kidneys each week, and nearly every adult woman has a 30-centimeter long scar on her belly. Behind every scar lies an extremely poor family and a story of despair. Roni is one of the women in the village who sold a kidney. After moving to the refugee settlement, her husband lost his fishing job, drank all day, and the family became desperately poor. And when her daughter, Jaya, got married, they couldn't afford a dowry. So Jaya's mother-in-law and husband constantly took their anger out on her, beating her often. 1 month after marriage, while visiting her parents, Jaya drank about a liter of pesticide to commit suicide. She survived in the hospital, but needed at least a week in the ICU to be out of danger. If Roni didn't raise the hospital fees fast, the hospital would stop Jaya's treatment, and she'd die. Roni thought of selling a kidney. Through a friend who'd sold one, she met a kidney broker, an intermediary who buys kidneys and resells them to buyers. That broker gave Roni a $900 deposit to cover Jaya's hospital fees. There was also a $2,600 final payment scheduled to be paid after the kidney removal surgery. If Roni backed out, the broker would hire thugs to settle it. Before surgery, Roni provided blood and urine samples to match with the buyer. About where her kidney went, Roni only knew the buyer was a wealthy woman. Around the Indian Ocean tsunami, a kidney's open price in India was about $3,000, but brokers usually paid sellers only a small fraction of that. After Roni's surgery, the broker vanished. The promised $2,600 final payment went down the drain. Another kidney-selling woman, Marigia, also had her final payment swallowed by the broker. She actually only got $750. The buyer of Marigia's kidney was a wealthy Sri Lankan man who paid $14,000 for a full kidney transplant service. In other words, 95% of what he paid went to brokers, dealers, medical institutions, and doctors, while the sellers at the end of the chain, who sacrificed most, only got 5%. Many kidney sellers aren't unaware of these broker tricks. They know they're being exploited. But they say it's still better than getting nothing. Fortunately, slums in India, Egypt, Brazil, and the Philippines never lack sellers like Roni and Marija willing to sell their organs, effectively meeting global demand for live transplants.
Over the past half-century, the kidney market has always faced shortages.
For example, in the U.S., patients sometimes wait on lists for 5 years to get a transplantable kidney. Moreover, compared to kidneys from deceased donors, live donor transplants have higher success rates. Patients live longer after surgery, and in the third world, there's ample supply of transplant organs. Hospitals there claim to have excess organs, with donor costs just a fraction of Western prices. In 2008, the American actuarial firm Middlemen calculated the total cost of a U.S. kidney transplant at about $259,000, including kidney removal fees. Carrier, pre- and post-operative care costs, immunosuppressant costs to reduce rejection, and so on. Getting a transplant in Indian hospitals costs only 1/20th of what it does in the U.S. The problem is, trading human organs is also illegal in India. Kidney sellers must undergo ethics review by an organ transplant authorization committee before surgery to ensure legality and no money involvement. But most times, this committee is just for show, with brokers forging all required documents. How should the kidney sellers answer? The brokers arrange everything in advance. Roni recalled the committee only asked if she was willing to donate a kidney. She said yes, signed the papers, and the review ended. She told the author brokers sometimes pull out 2,000 rupees, about 187 yuan, to bribe the committee and smooth the process. Indian police turn a blind eye to human organ trading too. After 2 futile years chasing payment, Marija reported to police, who arrested broker Raj, but threatened to arrest her too for participating. Police just warned Raj and released him. When found on street, he posed as a victim. Raj said, "I just wanted to help. I heard someone dying of kidney failure and knew many willing sellers here. Is that wrong?"
What Raj won't mention is the health damage to these women.
After kidney removal, Roni had constant pain, could only shuffle slowly, lost all workability, and regretted selling it to save her daughter. Marija never fully recovered post-surgery. Worse, her teen son developed kidney failure from hepatitis B. But Marija has no third kidney for her son? As a washerwoman scraping by, how can she afford buying one or the transplant? In this global kidney trade chain, wealthy buyers extend lives cheaply, middlemen and providers profit hugely. Only the kidney sellers remain struggling for survival. Kidneys aren't renewable, but what about selling renewable tissues like eggs? Is it different? Now let's head to the Mediterranean island nation of Cyprus to see how the egg trade operates there.
Eggs are somewhat renewable. Under natural conditions, a woman releases 300 to 500 eggs in her lifetime.
But that doesn't mean egg donation is risk-free. In fact, donation is lengthy and painful. Donors endure at least 2 weeks of hormone stimulation before surgical extraction. Hormones accelerate egg production but cause side effects like weight gain. Additionally, 3% of women develop ovarian hyperstimulation syndrome, which can be fatal if doctors don't reduce doses promptly. Around the 1990s, Israeli doctor Gianni Brafel injected excessive hormones into multiple women to harvest more eggs for sale. Well, one donor had 181 eggs extracted unknowingly, sold to 34 clients, 13 women total hospitalized from hormone overdose.
After this scandal, Israel banned paid domestic donations but allowed citizens to seek paid donations abroad.
The UK banned paid egg donations in 2007. UK donor numbers plummeted, with wait times stretching to 2 years. Impatient Brits fly directly to Cyprus. According to the European Society of Human Reproduction and Embryology, over 25,000 Europeans annually seek fertility treatments abroad, with Cyprus as a key destination. It was the global hub for egg trade until the book's writing. As of 2011, the country had lax fertility treatment regulations. Fertility clinics, licensed or not, offered IVF procedures. Fetal gender screening, banned elsewhere, was also available. In the U.S., full egg donation services cost about $40,000. In Cyprus, it's $8,000, $14,000, one-third cheaper than the cheapest Western options. Crucially, egg supply here is ample, with waits rarely exceeding 2 weeks. In the U.S., only 1 in 14,000 eligible women donate eggs. In Cyprus, 1 in every 50 eligible women donates eggs.
The main donors are immigrants from Russia and Eastern Europe. A typical donor
First falls for a Cypriot online, moves to Cyprus hoping for better life. Within months, she breaks up. Jobless, homeless. Getting legal work papers is also tough.
But she's healthy, educated, and fair-skinned, highly sought by Western clients.
Clients want lighter-skinned babies.
In Spain, another European hub, it's similar. Many Latin American immigrants lack legal income options besides selling eggs.
Nicole, a Chilean immigrant, sold eggs soon after arriving. An art student without work permit, it seemed easy cash, but her darker skin was an issue. Luckily, it was winter. Her skin was paler, and heavy makeup got her past client screening. After surgery, an envelope with $1,400 cash lay beside her. Nicole said it felt like a John leaving cash on a nightstand after sex. Pure body for money exchange. Pay varies by person and region. U.S. donors average $8,000. Ivy League athletes can earn $50,000 per donation.
Every 100-point SAT score increase
Boasts egg price by approximately $2,350. In Cyprus, Ukrainian eggs fetch just hundreds, yet donors flock. Some turn professional. One Brazilian donated 4 to 5 times yearly, then fell ill. Worse, some Cyprus clinics have donors inject hormones at home, then fly in for extraction. Once, a donor had severe reaction mid-flight. The clinic simply sent her back to Ukraine immediately for treatment.
And when that egg donor reached the hospital, she was already at death's door.
The author notes that for these poor people, a few $100s can be an irresistible fortune, their only graspable hope in despair. This injects coercion and exploitation into the human body trade. In drug trials, human guinea pigs may suffer multi-organ failure and lose consciousness minutes after taking experimental drugs.
Historically in the U.S., clinical trial centers clustered near colleges where cash-strapped students volunteered, but shifted to poor neighborhoods when demand outstripped supply.
Today, they've relocated to U.S.-Mexico border towns and India to cut costs. Sean Phillips, chair of the U.S. EPA Human Testing Committee, believes uneducated Indian participants see $100 as undue inducement, yet may not recognize their coercion. Some don't even realize they're being pressured. In other cases, coercion is blatant. At Indian surrogacy clinics, womb-renting women are confined to dorms for medical monitoring.
They're banned from outdoor activities, even walking nearby streets.
In few U.S. states, allowing paid surrogacy costs range from $50,000 to $100,000. In India, it's $15,000, $20,000.
Surrogates get $5,000, $6,000, money they might not earn in 10 years of labor.
Though surrogacy is legal in India, laws neglect surrogate medical care and treatment standards. In 2009, young Indian surrogate Eswari died postpartum. She became a surrogate at her husband's demand to bring extra family income. Coming from a polygamous family, Eswari couldn't refuse her husband.
After childbirth, she hemorrhaged, the clinic was unprepared, and Eswari died en route to hospital.
The baby went to clients per contract. The clinic denied wrongdoing and faced no consequences. All right, that wraps up the main content of Part 1. In the black market of human body trade, the poor become primary suppliers, bearing risks of tissue loss while facing invisible exploitation and coercion. Even in fully legal human body markets, money is always involved. Many countries allow donor compensation, but whether legal or unethical, people avoid profit-oriented terminology. For example, blood, kidneys, and eggs aren't bought. They're donated. Children are adopted. Clinical trial participation is voluntary. The author argues this altruistic rhetoric precisely enables exploitation and crime in human body trade. Next, in Part 2, we'll examine problems with the altruism-based donation system. First, let's explore how the system originated. In 1970, British anthropologist Richard Titmuss outlined an altruism-based blood donation system in his book, The Gift Relationship. Comparing America's commercial system with Britain's altruistic model, Titmuss found paid donations caused multiple issues. First, bought blood spreads disease. Hospitals using paid donations had higher hepatitis rates. Infected people or addicts hide conditions for money, and blood companies conceal sources for profit. Second, commercial systems push countries toward cheap sources like prisoner donations. Titmuss likened this to modern slavery, inevitably involving coercion and exploitation. Thus, Titmuss advocated purely altruistic donation systems as the solution. Such systems save lives, generate hospital profits, and build social solidarity. As society members, those helping strangers ultimately benefit themselves or families through collective well-being. This applies beyond blood. Human bodies and parts should be gifted, not commodified. Commercializing any tissue leads to exploitation. Despite fierce opposition from pro-blood commercialization groups, countries worldwide adopted Titmuss's recommendations. In the 1980s, the U.S. passed the National Organ Transplant Act, banning organ or tissue sales. Others followed suit. By 2011, when the book was written, most nations banned blood or organ sales. Even buying children for adoption or selling bones pre-death were illegal. However, the author notes this donation system has two major flaws when facing huge body trade profits.
First, it bans individuals from profiting off body tissues but allows others in the supply chain to profit.
As mentioned, Indian kidney sellers get only 5% of patient fees. The rest goes to brokers, doctors, clinics. In Cyprus, egg donors get mere hundreds, under 10% of total costs. Now, for patients, this just shifts organ acquisition costs to other services. For stakeholders, nearly free raw materials create profit incentives. Example, while U.S. organ sharing networks increased deceased donors, more organs meant doctors listed substandard patients, lengthening wait lists and kidney demand. Donors themselves get only minimal legal compensation. Take egg donation. The American Society for Reproductive Medicine deems compensation beyond lost wages or travel unethical. Cyprus and Europe similarly ban buying eggs but allow compensation payments. Yet from authors' interviews, no Cyprus or Spain egg sellers risk their lives for altruism. All did it for money. For these donors, compensation and money mean the same thing. The only difference is compensation pays less. Plus, since the compensation is so low, those still willing to donate eggs are often the poorest or most desperate people with no other choice. As the author stated at the book's beginning, it's always higher class people receiving donations from lower classes, never the reverse, and exploitation worsens in less developed regions. Why? Why? And then crafted. For example, in the US, half to three-quarters of total surrogacy costs go to the surrogate mother.
But in India, surrogates might only get a quarter to a third of the total fees. Lawyer Karkanis told the author altruistic rhetoric gives clinics leverage when negotiating surrogate pay.
Karkanis, a Mumbai lawyer specializing in surrogacy, believes it's a profession, not charity. Foreigners aren't here because they love India. They come to save money. If surrogacy is a profession, why do women get compensation instead of market rate wages? This profit-sharing setup across the supply chain also breeds crime. Scandals have erupted in India, Africa, and elsewhere.
Trafficking or stealing children, pretending they're orphans, and placing them with foreign adopters for fees.
In 2007, French charity Large Désert tried smuggling 103 stolen children out of Africa disguised as war refugees.
In 2009, a Utah adoption agency was exposed for bringing greater than 37 children from Samoa for American families. They lied to parents claiming children were orphans when they weren't, all driven by high adoption profits. Adopting from India costs American families $17,000, including orphanage service fees. One Indian orphanage mentioned arranged 165 adoptions to Western families, 1991 to 2003, earning approximately $250,000, approximately $1,500 per child. The orphanage's costs included kidnapper commissions. These kidnappers specialized in abducting kids for orphanages at 10,000 rupees, approximately $236 per child. In 2005, this orphanage was reported and raided by police, but due to forged documents, many children's origins became untraceable. To combat international adoption crimes, as of 2019, nearly 100 countries have signed and ratified the Hague Adoption Convention.
But according to U.S. law professor David Smolin, the Hague Convention has limited effect, with its biggest flaw being no cap on adoption fees.
He said if fees aren't strictly limited, other regulations are doomed to fail. Smolin's view is shared by Indian colleagues and police. Indian police officer Shankar stated, "If adopting children didn't cost money, such crimes would vanish completely." All right, earlier we discussed altruistic donations' first major flaw. Individuals can't directly trade body parts, yet others profit massively, breeding exploitation and crime. Altruistic CUD. The donation system's second major flaw is anonymity. Donor information is confidential. Blood transfusion recipients usually don't know who saved their life. Organ transplant recipients rarely know who gave up their kidney. Thus, patients generically thank the donation system and doctors. They never learn donors' motives or processes, nor question their tissue's origin or legality. Thus, ethical issues in human tissue trade are hidden, and living flesh becomes traded commodity. The medical community believes anonymity protects the donation system and donors. Linking donors and recipients might reduce donation willingness.
But the author argues transparency is capitalism's most basic safeguard.
Businesses deliberately hiding sources are usually rotten. Anonymity lets criminals harvest organs from coerced victims, kidnap children, and force dangerous egg extraction. Cross-border trade makes these crimes even easier to cover up. As mentioned, just forged documents and perfunctory reviews can turn sold kidneys into legal donations. That Indian orphanage forged parental relinquishment papers. Some even coached trafficked children to fabricate backgrounds. Receiving countries and adopters struggle to verify origins. It's not. So far, we've discussed the problems with the altruistic donation system. Having said all this, what should we do? One solution is to legally ban monetary transactions for human tissues, prohibiting payments to anyone, including doctors, medical institutions, and transporters. But this approach might boost the black market, driving legal supply underground. Another method is achieving absolute transparency in the supply chain. Every blood bag should label the donor's name. Every organ recipient should know who gave them new life. Just as you check a used car's accident history before buying, this might unsettle some people. But the author notes that while humans aren't born as ordinary market goods, we're all undoubtedly customers in the human body market. The sooner we accept this fact, the sooner we can improve things, even if criminals still fake their way through. But the more transparent the information, the easier it is to spot dangerous brokers. Lastly, the author believes we should also rethink our demand for human bodies. If adoption agencies heavily promote that many orphans await homes, more people would adopt. With more kidneys in the market, doctors would expand eligibility for transplants, keeping waitlists long and maintaining an illusion of shortage. But is this demand truly necessary? The author cites an example. In the early 20th century, high blood stocks let surgeons develop advanced techniques, but some Christian scientists opposed all blood transfusions. Thus they focused on bloodless surgery, driving major advances in the field. Today, in many Western hospitals, surgeries require little or no blood transfusion. Of course, we can also hope for tech advances. Maybe artificial organs will one day eliminate the need for live transplants. The author notes that the current human body market involving crime or unethical acts might be far smaller than the legal one.
According to WHO data, about 10% of global transplant organs come from the black market.
Based on experience, the author estimates similar black market proportions for other human tissues. But how we treat that 10% precisely determines what kind of society we live in. What are your thoughts on this? Feel free to leave us a comment in the section below the audio. That concludes our interpretation of the red market. Reading notes are below the audio. Until next time,